Welcome to the Talking HealthTech podcast. My name is Peter Birch. I'm here at Victorian Healthcare Week 2024, and I'm joined by Craig Tucker from Yooralla and Bryan Tan from Salesforce. And we're here to discuss Yooralla's digital transformation journey in this complicated landscape of the NDIS and other sectors too. So, gents, thanks so much for joining me today.
Good morning, Peter.
Good to see you, and it's great to have Bryan regular on the podcast, it feels like these days, but I'll have to give you a coffee card, the 6th one's free. But but it's great to be able to have some new faces and voices here on the show. So Craig, if you wouldn't mind, firstly, give us a bit more context about you and the work that Yooralla does.
Yeah, thanks, Peter, and thank you for this morning, and great to meet you, Bryan. Yooralla, one of Victoria's largest disability providers. We serve over 2,500 clients and over 2,000 workforce across Victoria, both in the city and regional. We provide services from support independent living in houses to community hubs to business enterprises. From a tech perspective, we have obviously technology to support the organisation and our clients, our workforce, and we're going through a transformation at the moment around digital and making it more digital eco-friendly for both our clients and our workforce.
Yeah. Got it. Excellent. I'm going to hazard a guess and say that if there's digital transformation involved and Bryan's sitting next to you, there's going to be a connection there. So, Bryan, tell me a little bit more about the work that you're doing in this space.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, Craig's organisation, Yooralla, has been a partner of Salesforce for a while now and has been undertaking this journey. So Craig's a wealth of stories and about the journey that they've had to undertake in order to transform the organisation, make it agile as well. Salesforce is now across a number of aged care and disability providers. So we've had the privilege of seeing both the regulatory changes in the environment as at a federal level as well as at a provider level, what those downstream impacts have been and how tech's been brought to bear, both in innovation and also in regulatory compliance.
Well, thank you. I'd love to hear from Craig, from first-hand experience of working in this space, particularly around disability, and there's a lot of changes that are always happening with the NDIS. For those that aren't maybe in the weeds of it all on a day-to-day, I'd love to get your perspective on, I guess, how that landscape's changed over the months, years, and how that kind of then, how you think about it from your role in that technology perspective. You've got to balance this need to be safe and controlled and regulated and tick the boxes, but you also want to be doing innovative, cool new things. Walk me through how you're thinking about that.
Yeah, great question. Look, obviously, I'm pretty passionate around technology. It's an enabler in so many ways, both for our clients and also for our workforce. We are working in an environment which is actually very competitive. There's a lot of very good providers out there in the sector. Participants have choice and control of who they choose to be their provider of services. So we have to be very good at what we do as far as a frontline care perspective, but also be incredibly effective and efficient in our back office, our corporate services as well, to ensure that we're not being sort of inefficient with processes, good cost control, because every time we can actually improve a process, be more controlled on our costs, make better decisions around innovation decisions for clients or workforce, the whole primary objective is to sort of get better services to clients and to enable clients to live the life they choose. So from a tech perspective, we've done work over the last few years in rebuilding our infrastructure to get that right. We need a network to do that. We need Wi-Fi around our organisations, good, strong cybersecurity, a lot of work around data governance. We have to get data right, both the data quality and the safeguarding information. As Bryan said, we've got the Salesforce platform. Done a lot of work over many years on the Salesforce platform, and we're continually innovating on that platform to provide a better outcome both for our workforce and our clients. I'll give an example of that very quickly, is that we're now working on piloting a Salesforce app that will now allow both our clients, our workforce, to basically go into the Salesforce platform and look at their data, their plans, and make changes. So we're trying to change the Salesforce platform from being, a back-of-house CRM more to a front-facing digital enabler for our clients.
Yeah. And help me understand a bit more then. So like you gave that good example of a client or a carer wanting to, or a staff member wanting to understand someone's care plan. In terms of like the day-to-day, it sounds like there's a lot of moving parts. There's various stakeholders involved. Like, what's actually happening like on the ground there to help people understand they might see what's happening for, they may have someone that's going through the program or that they're receiving care. Like, what are all the logistical challenges there in doing kind of?
Oh, there's a bunch of challenges there, which is kind of exciting in some ways to get out there and innovate and reform what we do. I guess a couple of things at the moment. We are very paper intensive at the front line. Lots of paperwork, lots of paper forms, lots of policies. Frustration for our frontline workforce. Every time we have to do something, there's a form, there's a policy to read and to do. So we're now working through a process of taking those paper forms into a digital format through the Salesforce platform. So, as opposed to a frontline worker have to fill out a bunch of paperwork, online, it's accessible, it's quick to retrieve, it's there, and it's kept safely. From a client perspective, the more that we can sort of digitise, the workforce and make the workforce comfortable with digital technology, we believe that workforce have more time to be with clients and hopefully sort of better outcome care for the clients.
Now that sounds familiar, doesn't it, Bryan? Like this ongoing challenge of within healthcare and care broadly, this legacy environment of we've got a lot of requirements, sometimes a lot of paper, but then in the end you've got clients, patients, people needing care that are probably at their most vulnerable or don't have the bandwidth or the time or the energy to deal with the logistics, nor should they. So that kind of fits in with all the other conversations, right?
No, absolutely. I think I was thinking along the same lines, actually, Pete, that technology is just part of that answer and solution stack. At the end of the day, we're dealing with people, and people who are sometimes in a vulnerable position as well. Now, the shift towards consumer-directed care, that was kind of a wholesale shift in the disability sector a number of years ago as a result of the Royal Commission that was held, has really placed the funding, for example, back in the hands of the consumer for them, Craig, as you shared, for them to make the decisions about who's going to provide their personal care, who's going to provide their clinical care. That has brought tech into perspective because it allows the technology sector then to think about the way in which they're creating their products in such a way that it's actually directly touching the people at the front line, both the clients who our disability partners are serving, but also their own staff as well who are providing that frontline care. So how do we both address the internal workflows as well as the external client touching kind of experiences and engagements that they go on a day-to-day basis? Now, tech only serves a part of that. And in disability, what we see is that also has to be married with the ability for the client, for example, to actually access that tech and to use the tech, use the devices that have been provided to them to access, something like a client portal, for example. Not everyone can. And so the tech has to be married with some person-to-person kind of services as well to help them make the most of that tech too.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And trying to bring together both that technical challenge of the making everything more interoperable, as we talk about, but also the ensuring and hopefully improving client satisfaction, the level of patient care across the broader system is really important. In order to do all of that, Craig, and looking at Yooralla specifically, trying to do any kind of transformation within any organisation, you need the buy-in from the people that are doing the caring on the front line, but you need buy-in right up to the top as well to be able to invest in this kind of stuff as well. Talk me through how you've gone through this process of bringing the whole organisation from top to bottom through the journey of digital transformation.
Great question. I think for me, it's actually keep it quite simple and not overcomplicating it. I think you've got to actually be able to sort of go to the board at a board level and to get the benefit, for the client, the organisation at a very high level. CEO on board, he gets it, he's on board, incredibly supportive. My role in the organisation where I sit is to work across broad stakeholders. So to make sure I identify, the right people in the operations side, frontline services, the chief operating officer, directors in operations, work with key people even in the organisation at the front line delivering the services to understand their pain points, understand tech, understand the benefit, understand the efficiencies they can get from, looking at process improvement or enabling technology. It's also very, very important that we engage clients, people with lived experience.
Yeah.
I mean, primarily that's who we serve. So they are an incredible important stakeholder in our organisation to move that transformation through. what we do is that we don't ever see these things as a tech project. It's not a technology project. It's actually tech is an enabler. The way I phrase this with the organisation is that we're looking at enhancing either the lives of our clients or making the workforce more productive, more efficient. And we'll work with them in a very collaborative way and a cross-functional way all through the process. So we'll never go there and say, here's tech, you shall do this. Yeah. We'll say, here's the tech's capability, tell us your problems, and then we'll identify how we can work with them, solutioning them. And we will not rush into the solutioning either. We'll work in a very methodical way, each part. It's also important to understand too is that a lot of the frontline workers are incredibly busy doing the frontline work and support. So we don't want to go and create more inefficiencies with poor decisions or poor tech. So it's just identify your key stakeholders, early engagement, and really building trust very early in the process and being respectful of all people involved in the process. Mm.
There's some good advice there. And I guess following on from that, thinking about, you've got two things I'm thinking about. If I was on the board or making a big decision to invest in a digital transformation, you want to make sure you're backing a winner, and you want to make sure you've got something that's gonna live the test of time, or at least give you that return over a reasonable time frame. You're in an environment where regulation can change pretty regularly, and also the technology is constantly moving at a rapid rate, and I guess no one wants to invest in something that's then obsolete in a year or two's time. How do you kind of strike this balance and make those decisions in when you've got both of these things, where the regulatory environment may, it's always an unknown, because the safe thing to do is just wait, and we can sit and wait for a long period of time. How do you kind of get action across all the stakeholders to do that?
Yeah. So from my perspective, the way I approach this is basically you need to just sort of develop the technology that enables the organisation to be more efficient and more, and better outcomes for clients, but do it in a way that's actually scalable and a platform is sort of configurable and sort of you can. So don't ever sort of go there and design something which is sort of hard, rigid process. Mm. It's really important also, I guess, in a sense in this process, we get a lot of requests for operations to improve, say, the Salesforce platform. Mm-hmm. We actually work closely with operations and say, okay, help us understand how we can actually improve that change to Salesforce, as an example. Is it better data quality? Is it better functionality around the self-serving side or the app side as far as how it presents, the workflows? So we want to make sure that what we're delivering is actually providing value to the problem as being presented by operations or our corporate services workforce. I think we also have a principle where we don't design things which cannot be sort of locked in and not sort of very hard to change. The other thing we often talk about, often enough in the sector, is working with your partners. Mm. I mean, our partners, Salesforce, as an example, they have roadmaps, they know where they're heading, have early engagement and say, look, we're thinking of this. What do you guys think? Is that going to work, or are you going to go on a different tangent? So I think it's very important to actually bring your partners into the conversations really early, because we might be thinking of a solution or a process change or whatever. They're saying, look, if you just hold back a little bit, it's coming soon. Mm. So you've got to have a really open, transparent conversation with your partners. Yeah.
That's, look, from my own experience, I used to love the saying it's on the roadmap when I was a tech vendor, because sometimes that roadmap is going to change. And Bryan, you know this industry as well, where, we're very good at waiting in healthcare and looking for reasons not to move. But, in the work you're doing in Australia and globally too with Salesforce, you kind of need to be able to see around that corner and know what's coming. How do you kind of balance those two, and how do you see it across the broader health system?
Yeah, I think our regulatory authorities do a pretty good job of signalling to the market ahead of time what some of the regulatory changes upcoming might be. And that allows us as a tech vendor then to also forward operate. And I have the privilege as a clinician working within a tech company of having some direct relationships into product. So while our teams in R&D are based overseas, we can forward influence into the product data model, the front-end widgets that are necessary at the front end of the solution as well. And because Salesforce is not an off-the-shelf product, but it's essentially a Lego set that's highly configurable for our clients, it's just about putting in place the right operational elements and capabilities in that platform so that our clients can utilize that when the time is right, as those regulatory compliance changes come in. A CIO a short while ago told me in aged care and disability, sometimes the compliance requirements can change so quickly that and so granularly as well. The granularity of reporting is down to the minute who provided services to whom now in some of those sectors, and the funding models are changing about what activities you perform in your operations are going to be funded. Are your meetings going to be funded versus the actual client interaction going to be funded? That granularity of compliance in reporting means that the tech has to be agile enough and scalable enough to deal with those changes on a week-to-week basis as those compliance issues come in. So that's also where I think the low-code platform value stands apart from some traditional off-the-shelf solutions, because our ability then for our clients to move very quickly with the platform and with that forward operating view comes into play. CIO told me a little while back that they used to have to decide, do I spend $1 on an extra headcount in order to scale our business and the services that we can provide to more of our clients, or do I spend $1 on tech? Now the decision is not there anymore. They have to spend both $1 in order to scale their business on headcount, and they need to spend an extra $1 on tech in order to meet the compliance reporting requirements that are changing. So there's obviously then impact on the bottom line of the organizations, their financial sustainability, and we have to think more carefully then too about our investments in tech and in our headcounts. What kind of workforce do we need? What kind of tech do we need so that extra $1 is not just providing incremental value, but potentially also future-proofing the organization?
I think that ties in nicely with Craig's point too around the importance of partnering, because being able to trying to do this kind of stuff in isolation, if as an organisation, when you've only got this much in your crystal ball, being able to share crystal balls and see what comes through it is probably important.
So I just want to a point that Bryan made just made me think about this even further. So you take a Salesforce platform as an example. So we know a lot of not-for-profits over decades have grown up and got a lot of applications that are now legacy tech debt, basically, and they're still running these old legacy systems which aren't integrated with other platforms and their standalone platforms and things like that, and we certainly have some of those. You look at the Salesforce platform, which is quite rich in functionality. There are a lot of things you could actually retire in your own legacy tech debt environment to bring into the Salesforce platform to make a much more tighter ecosystem, interoperability, data workflows, and retiring a lot of these apps that you have in your organisation, which are, frankly, expensive, hard to manage, and may have some issues around security because they're quite dated and they're quite old. So I think it's a chance to actually, say, okay, there is a Salesforce platform, a lot of functionality. So we do risk management. We've got a platform risk management sits out there by itself. Well, we know that Salesforce has got risk management capability in their platform. So, there's opportunity to make our environment less complex, but more integrated.
Yeah, those decisions then open up and allow you to think, what that broader picture looks like within the that tech stack. So, and you don't want to keep adding on more and more bits. And if you want it to all...
It's a really good point, Craig. I think interoperability continues to be one of the major challenges across every subsector in health and every client that we speak to, from the federal government through to hospitals in the acute space, through to clinics in the secondary care space, GP clinics, the primary care space. Every organisation in the health and care economy that we speak to at Salesforce has the same... different flavors of the same dysfunction when it comes to interoperability. Where we see some really great value is also looking forward into how you're using APIs and an API strategy as well to unlock the value in some of those source systems, so that as you rip and replace some of those applications, some of them may still have to stay, either because of financial reasons or because of dependencies on that existing tech product. So some of that legacy tech debt may have to stay for maybe an additional 5 to 7 years, for example, before you can actually replace it. But then how do you think about that? How do you still have a future-facing architecture in your organization that allows for some legacy tech debt until you're ready to replace that? But unlocking the value in those source systems, because there's a heck of a lot of valuable data about the clients that we're serving and the patients that we're serving in those legacy systems. And then how do you surface that? How do you set some governance rules around the value of that data through your API governance structure? And then also unlock the value for an application layer then. So you can potentially put any application that you want. It doesn't have to be a Salesforce application on the front end. But you've unlocked the value in your source legacy systems and your systems of record. And then that application layer for your systems of engagement, both for your staff and also for the clients that you're serving, you're free to use. And you're free to choose from the market in a much more decisive and incisive way. I think at the moment, because of that legacy tech debt, it also holds some organizations prisoner to that legacy architecture rather than seeing that there is some innate value in the data that is residing in those systems.
Yeah.
So there's also a strategy there, I think, that faces a lot of the CIOs in your position, Craig, across all those subsectors in health. How do we have a future-proofed approach, not just to the applications, but also to the API strategy as well in the connectors, the connective tissue in health.
The connective tissue, I like that one.
Health.
Yeah, no, I was thinking you can't do all the cool stuff without the right foundation. So being able to do that's going to be super important. Hey, Bryan, as well, I know that you just recently back from Dreamforce in San Francisco and great opportunity to see what's happening in other parts of the world and often an opportunity to see what's coming next.
Yeah.
What cool stuff's coming through the pipeline?
Well, there's obviously the next wave of AI. So I don't think...
Another wave.
It's already here. The changes are happening exponentially in terms of speed. Yeah. We're getting new product capability notifications, on a daily basis, if not hourly now, about new capabilities coming out for Gen AI. And we're moving beyond just the generative AI space into agentic AI now. So not only are we able to use that AI to create, but then also automate now. And how much of that, we have to look very carefully in health and care because we're dealing with people's lives. But I think there is a huge level of promise there for the organizations in disability, in aged care, to perhaps remove a lot of the administrative workflows that are currently happening and to rely on agentic AI to automate some of that. The insights that for case summation, everyone knows about already. But how do we move from generative AI for case summation towards agentic AI, where we can also process some tasks and not just the free text captured in notes? Yeah. So that's the next challenge. How do we apply that in a sensitive way, but also in a very powerful way in health and care? I think that's the exciting new frontier that we're seeing out of the announcements at Dreamforce. And we've been showing it at World Tour, Agentforce engagements that Salesforce is running. I think we're coming to a capital city near you very soon. So keep an eye out for, some early looks and feels of what that agentic AI is capable of. It's real. It's coming. And I don't think it's going to be blockchain in health.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and a little flash in the pan. Right. But the Craig, then, back home and within your turf and thinking about what's next and the future, what kind of innovations are you looking at and how are you seeing what's your crystal ball in terms of what innovation is going to add value back to what you do?
Yeah, I concur with Bryan. AI, it's not a fad. It's here, I think I must get 3-4 phone calls, emails a day from people sort of espousing, AI and come and talk to us, So we're definitely, from Yooralla's perspective, on the AI journey. We understand AI will provide a benefit to the organisation and our clients. We're at the start of the journey, so we've been very mindful around making sure we get the governance right, the framework right, make sure that organisationally people understand what AI is, getting cross-stakeholder collaboration. We actually formed a working group recently of key stakeholders to get the conversation going internally. We understand the importance of data and getting the data right and data quality right, for the AI. Also understand it has to be an ethical framework as well for AI. We do have clients' data, so we have an obligation around sort of ethical use of data and how we use data, and making sure that it's a very transparent sort of conversation with clients. Having the right balance of risk and control in the organisation, and also we've got to balance what we can invest in AI today as well, being a non-for-profit. We don't have that sort of millions on the balance sheet. Waiting to invest in AI, so we've got to pick the right use cases. Early thinking around use cases, just for interest, is that, at the moment, we know that every day our workforce enters what we call progress notes into the system in free text around the client for the day. So a lot of information goes into the database. A lot of free text goes into the database around observations on the client. Well, we can use AI to start doing some predictive analysis and get the data synthesized where we can look at client, trends and patterns for care.
Yes.
So if we recognise a pattern in someone's care, well, maybe there can be more early intervention with that care as well. Another one is around training. So we have mandatory training requirements for our frontline staff to undertake before they go and provide care and support. Our training data is held in what we'll call a dumb database, Excel spreadsheets and whatever else. AI can be used to make sure that, look for gaps in our training. Who hasn't got the training? Are we sending to the right locations with the right training? So that's just two very simple use cases. And I guess the third use case is we've got lots of forms, lots of templates in the organisation. And if we have a client incident, we've got to report that through various channels and means. The frontline worker will be concerned around getting that client safe in the first instance and then sort of get onto the paperwork side. To go through our internal process to find the templates and the process of the policies on our intranet site can be quite challenging. Such a simple chatbot, you can type in, give me the process for incident management. Out comes the 5 dot points in priority and the template. A simple way to make it less stressful for the frontline worker, but quick and efficient.
Yeah. I like that because it ties in so well to what Bryan was mentioning before. It's not like, for a CIO or a CTO or any organizations that's looking to innovate, you can't go from 0 to 100. For various reasons, you've got to get those quick wins in. And you mentioned that was simple changes, but they're going to change workflow and it'll have an impact and hopefully demonstrate within the organization that, we've got appetite for change. We can, by making this iteration, we can improve things. And then if you can, I would imagine by demonstrating those wins internally and then building that advocacy, you get that kind of flow of like, hey, this is having success and how else can you build on innovation from there? So wishing you all the luck with that one. Gents, I think we're going to have to wrap up and let the session start here at Victorian Healthcare Week. So Bryan, Craig, I really appreciate you making the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Peter.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Talking HealthTech. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this episode with someone who might find it valuable. For more information and resources about healthcare innovation, visit talkinghealthtech.com.